Hello and welcome to the Power BI February 2022 update. In this video, we'll explore what's new this month and see some demos of the highlights. We have some exciting new updates for you in the reporting section. First, we're happy to announce that the new mobile formatting options are now in preview. Now you can separate the formatting for your visuals and reports between Power BI Mobile and Desktop with different formatting options for each one. This is a major improvement to authoring mobile-optimized reports, as the different screen sizes and methods of interaction between the two platforms led to very different formatting requirements. Now you will no longer have to rely on frustrating workarounds, like making hidden copies of visuals in your web layout so that you can use them in mobile. Michal will show us a demo of this feature.
Once a Power BI report has been built, the report creator can decide to build an addition layout to any report page that is optimized for mobile phones. That layout is based on the same visuals that already exist on the report page, but allows you to organize your visuals so they are easier for mobile users to view. While creating a mobile layout for a report is easy, we heard some feedback that you are struggling with designing good ones. You told us that as a workaround, you duplicate and hide visuals in desktop layout just to have two different designs for the same visual, one that fits mobile layout. We learned from you that all you actually need is to be able to edit the visual settings in mobile layout. Over the past several months, we have been working to make it possible. Today, I would like to introduce the major improvement to the authoring experience in Power BI Desktop for building mobile-optimized layouts. First, you will notice that you now have access to the visualization pane in the mobile layout. And when you select a visual, its format settings are available on the pane, set to the value of the current desktop layout. When you change a setting, the change will be applied to the visual in the mobile layout only and will not affect the way the visual looks in desktop layout. To make it easier for you to track the changes, there is a mobile indicator next to the setting you modified in the mobile layout. The indicator lets you know that this setting was changed for the mobile layout, and it is no longer inherit changes from the desktop layout. As you can see in this example, I have changed the legend position and text size to allow more space to the pie visual. And you can see this change has no effect on the visual in the desktop layout. In addition, when I am changing those settings in the desktop, those changes will not affect the value in the mobile layout since they are no longer connected to the value in the desktop layout. Settings that were not changed in mobile layout will continue to be connected to the desktop value, and changes made to the desktop will impact the appearance of the mobile layout. For example, in this visual, the details label color has not been changed for mobile. Therefore, once I will change this setting in the desktop layout, the mobile visual will inherit this change. To remove the mobile changes, you can use the Clear Mobile Changes in the category level or in the visual level. Pressing on Clearing Mobile Changes will remove any change you made in the mobile layout and will sync back to the current desktop setting. Here is an example of a report with phone layout that I had. I have added the report and used the mobile formatting pane in order to better adjust the visuals for phone screen. And here is the result in front of you. With just a few clicks, I was able to create much better looking report, truly optimized for phones. So this was just a glimpse of the new mobile layout formatting pane and the option you now have when you create phone optimized reports. So now you have the flexibility to be creative and design truly stunning mobile optimized reports.
To enjoy the new mobile formatting experience, turn on the Modify Visuals settings for mobile layout option in the Preview Features section of the Options menu. Please note that the mobile app version that supports this feature will be released to app stores in mid-February, so you'll need to check your version of Power BI Mobile before using it to view reports published using this feature. Next, we're excited to announce that the downstream inheritance for sensitivity labels is now generally available. Downstream inheritance enables you to automatically apply a dataset's or report's sensitivity label on all downstream reports and dashboards, applying to content built from that dataset or report as well. For more information on downstream inheritance, check out the link in the video description below. Next, default label policies in Power BI is now generally available. Default label policies enable you to define a baseline level of protection to be applied to Power BI files and to artifacts in the Power BI service. This capability is now generally available. Default labeling applies when a user creates a new file in Power BI Desktop or a new dataset or report in the Power BI service. The default label is set automatically on the new file or artifact without interfering with the user's workflow. Mandatory label policies are now also generally available. Mandatory label policies enable organizations to ensure that MIP sensitivity labels will be applied to new content when it is created or uploaded to Power BI. This capability is now generally available. When a user tries to save a pbix file in the Power BI desktop or a Power BI artifact in the service which doesn't have a sensitivity label applied, they will now be prompted to choose a label before the item will be saved. Also, the option to remove a label isn't available when a mandatory label policy applies. Next, the new Format Pane is now on by default starting in the February release. We've added a notification dialog to call attention to this change. Improvements to the formatting pane this month include re-additions of outline settings for table and matrix, the ability to toggle axes title independent of axes, the ability to add shade area to combo charts, and the ability to customize marker shape by series for scatter charts. We've also made some minor changes to the order of field wells within the Build pane to match the order of the new Format Pane cards for pie chart, donut chart, and scatter chart. Next, you can now select rows in your multi-row card to cross-highlight and cross-filter the other visuals in your report. Unselected rows will dim to help you identify which rows you have selected, and you can Control or Shift-click to select multiple rows at once. This brings interactivity in multi-row cards closer to parity with our other visual offerings. In the Data Preparation section, Dynamic mQuery Parameters now supports SQL Server and more data sources. As a refresher, Dynamic mQuery Parameters is a preview feature which allows report viewers to dynamically set the values for an mQuery parameter using filters or slicers. This feature can be especially useful for query performance optimizations without sacrificing report interactivity. When Dynamic mQuery Parameters was released, the feature supported M-based data sources, but did not support other sources like SQL Server. This month, we're excited to announce that Dynamic mQuery Parameters now supports more direct query data sources, including T-SQL-based data sources, Oracle, Teradata, Dataflows, and SAP HANA Relational. Sujatha will take us through a demo of this feature.
This month, we're excited to announce that the feature called Dynamic mQuery Parameters now supports additional data sources such as SQL Server, SAP HANA Relational, Teradata, Dataflows, and more. So what is dynamic query parameters and why is it useful? Well, in this example here, I have a direct query source on SQL Server that's using the AdventureWorks dataset. And I also have a query parameter that essentially will filter my query based on a selected color. So with dynamic query parameters, I can allow my end users to set the value of that query parameters without having to use Power BI Desktop. And the way they can set this value is by using the slicer here, or they can even use the filter cards within the filter pane itself. And so now that you understand what dynamic query parameters is enabling, and you see this example with SQL Server, let's see how this was set up. So here in the advanced editor, we can see how the query parameter is used both in the mQuery and then how the selected value of the parameter is passed to the native query. So here we have the parameter called color parameter. And what I'm doing in the mQuery is essentially checking if it's multiple values, or if it's a single value, I return this. Additionally, I have the option of specifying essentially a select all value, which will remove the filter on the color field. And once I've set up this part of the mQuery, I can now reference the selected value of the parameter directly in my native SQL query. So here we have the native SQL query, and essentially I'm composing it based on the selected value. So if I have select all products, then I won't need any where clause in the SQL query. But if I do have a selected color, then I can create this query. I can append this to the query here. And once you've set up the mQuery as well as reference the selected value in the native query, there's one more step before you're done. So I'm going to close out this. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to create a field that you can use in the slicer that you're going to expose to the end users to select that value for the parameter. So you can do this simply by hitting enter data and essentially manually entering the fields that you want. So in this case, I did that with the color options. And then what we're going to do, let's close this here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the modeling tab, and we're going to go to our color options and then select that field that we used. And then in the advanced section, you can scroll down. You'll see this option here that says bind to parameter. And this is where we'd select that parameter that we're using in the mQuery. And so you'll just want to select that parameter, and then you can specify whether it's a multi-select option, and then you can even add a select all option, which I mentioned earlier. So there you have it. That's the feature for dynamic mQuery parameters, as well as showing you an example of how you can use it in a SQL Server scenario. One more thing before I end the video here is I want to remind folks that if you're getting a message every time you run the native query, there is an option within the settings. So if you follow the file menu in the options dialog, you'll see this option under security, which says require user approval for new native database queries. If you don't want to see that option every time you rerun the query, you'll want to leave this unchecked.
In the Data Connectivity section, we have several new and updated connectors for you this month. First, we're excited to release the new Amazon OpenSearch service and OpenSearch project connectors. One of the key features of the OpenSearch engine is the Open Database Connectivity driver, which enables you to integrate various BI and analytics applications with OpenSearch. You can now connect Amazon OpenSearch service with Microsoft Power BI to create sophisticated and intelligent data visualizations on top of the search results obtained from Amazon OpenSearch service by leveraging the Power BI integration to provide data insights. We're also excited to announce the release of the new Digital Construction Works Insights connector. This connector works with data from your DCW integrations platform organizational and project data warehouse. It enables you to query all of your project data via one single source and build impressive visuals and reports. Simply enter the project URL in the connector's configuration screen and click OK. We've also updated the Azure Databricks, BQE Core, Microstrategy, and Starburst Enterprise Connectors. For more information on all of their new behaviours and bug fixes, check out the monthly release blog post linked in the video description below. Next, we have some great new features for you in the service section. First, we have some updates for Power BI goals. This month, we have updates on the Microsoft Teams notifications integration, the ability to add multiple owners to a goal, and the ability to create scorecards in My Workspace. Goals is now also available in all US government clouds. We've also made some updates to deployment pipelines, including an Azure DevOps extension to automate your deployments and pipeline creation using tasks in your Azure pipeline. Also, the ability to sync connections between items managed in different pipelines, and general availability for data flows, and support for linked entities. To learn more about these enhancements, check out the link in the video description below. Next, we've been hard at work enabling the ability to download pbix files in more scenarios. Previously, you couldn't download a pbix for reports connected to a single dataset when the dataset is configured for large models, incremental refresh, or has been modified by using the XMLA endpoint. Starting with this release, we've removed that limitation on reports authored in desktop and published to the service. Please note that downloading a .pbix for such a dataset itself is not supported, nor can a report be downloaded if it was created on the Power BI service and connects to such a dataset. We have a couple of exciting new updates for you in the mobile section. First, dark mode is now available in the Power BI Windows app. The Power BI app for Windows is designed and optimized for viewing and interacting with Power BI content. In this update, we've added support for dark mode. When the app is in dark mode, all screens and dialogues are presented against a dark theme. Keep in mind that Power BI content itself, like reports or dashboards, won't change. You can choose between the light and dark themes in the app's appearance settings, or you can leave the setting as System Default, in which case the app will use whatever theme your operating system is using. The Power BI Windows app has also been updated to its new look, and the old look is no longer available. Starting with this update, when you open the Power BI Windows app, it will open directly in the new look, and you'll land on the new homepage, where you can easily find and access the most frequent and recent items you usually use in Power BI. Next, we have a variety of updates for you in the Embedded Analytics section. First, you can now use Power BI datasets as a data source for embedding your paginated reports. With Power BI Embedded Analytics, ISVs and customers can create Power BI content that displays paginated reports in a fully integrated and interactive application. When embedding a paginated report with a Power BI dataset as a data source for the embed for your customer's scenario, you need a service principal and a multi-resource embed token containing an XMLA permissions parameter. For allowing embedding of paginated reports with a Power BI dataset as a data source, a read-only value is required. Power BI datasets with data sources that require single sign-on are not supported yet. Next, Azure Power BI Embedded A7 and A8 capacity nodes are available in self-service. A7 is like the P4 capacity node, carrying 64 vCores and 200 GB of RAM. A8 is like the P5 capacity node, carrying 128 vCores and 400 GB of RAM. Both capacity nodes could only be purchased by special request, but now we've enabled their purchase in self-service, either through the Azure portal or by using an ARM API. Self-service purchase of A7 and A8 in sovereign clouds will be enabled later this year. Next, we've made new dataset permissions APIs available. The Dataset Permissions APIs are a set of APIs that allow you to easily manage the permissions of your datasets to allow users to perform read, reshare, and explore operations. This lets you manage your datasets not only through the Power BI service, but also through your application. The APIs that are currently supported are Put and Post. The Post API allows you to grant new permissions to a dataset. It requires having read and reshare permissions for the dataset, as well as having all of the permissions that you would like to grant. Keep in mind that the Post API cannot be used for deleting permissions, and that calling the API with permissions the target already has will have no effect. The Put API helps you update the target's permissions to a given dataset. It requires having read, write, and reshare permissions for the dataset, and all of the permissions that you would like to update. The Put API cannot be used for changing write permissions or any folder-level inherited permissions. This API also supports removing all permissions for a dataset for a given target. You can also now programmatically delete dashboards from your workspaces using Delete Dashboard and Delete Dashboard in Group APIs. Next, we've introduced Access Token Expiry callbacks. Embedding Power BI artifacts requires the use of access tokens, which have an expiration time and must be refreshed before expiration to allow a continuous embedding experience. When using an Azure AD token for the embed for your organization scenario, this can now be done automatically by setting an event hook in your embedding configuration parameters, which will call a function responsible for generating new tokens and assign the generated token to the embedded artifact before the expiration of the token. With this new configuration, all you need to do is provide the token generating function, and the rest will be taken care of automatically so that your users will have a fluent and continuous experience. We also have some updates for you in the Developers section. First, you can now log into the Partner Center and retag your visuals with new categories. The revised category list has more and easier to understand options to help report authors find a suitable visual easily and quickly. Please note that you can tag a visual with up to 2 categories from the list. If your visual was previously tagged with a category that has been removed, update your visual with a new one. The new categories are Composition, Correlation, Distribution, Flow, Filters, Infographics, KPIs, Narratives, Maps, Part to Whole, R visuals, Change over Time, and Other. For API version 4.2 onwards, we have also released the ability to expand or collapse an entire level in the matrix programmatically. For more details about the new API or to learn more about expanding a large number of data points, check out the link in the video description below. Next, in order to support dynamic format strings in your custom visual, we've added a new definition for you to add to capabilities.json, available from API version 4.2 onwards. Moving on, we have some exciting updates to share with you in the visualization section. First, new visuals available for you on AppSource this month are the line with bubble chart, the custom tree view with bar chart, the custom slicer, the bar chart with top-end selection, the merged bar chart, the clustered stack chart, the 100% stacked column chart with value label, the bullet chart, the ultimate upset plot, the lollipop column visual, the line dot chart, the overlapped bar chart, the scatter plot with line marks, and the Power On visual planner service. Updated visuals include the Drill Down Graph Pro visual by Zoom Charts, the Plotly.js visual by Aquilon, the HTML Text Styler 2.0 visual, which is now certified, the Multiple Sparklines visual by excelandaccess.com, the Merged Bar Chart by Nova Silva, the Financial Reporting Matrix visual by ProfitBase, the InfoRiver Premium Edition visual by Lumel, and the Zebra BI Tables version 5.2 by Zebra BI. This quarter's editor's picks are the Acteris reporting visual by Acteris, the PMBI process mining visual by Process M, the merged bar chart by Nova Silver BV, the timeline box visual by TheraTrack, and the InfoRiver Professional Matrix/Table by InfoRiver. You can find all of these visuals on AppSource. For more information, check out their links in the video description below. We have a few additional updates for you this month. First, as we announced in October last year, starting with this release, we will require WebView 2 to be installed on your machine. To learn more about installing WebView 2, check out the link in the video description below. We are also very excited to announce a new template app that describes new features releasing in Power BI. The Power BI Release Plan app visualizes features from the Dynamics 365 and Microsoft Power Platform release plans, making it easy for organizations to track monthly releases and to stay up to date with upcoming features. With searchable text and direct links to feature details, organizations can now easily share the excitement of each Power BI release. This app is brought to you by the Power BI team and is now available on AppSource. And lastly, with the preview of process mining in Process Advisor, which leverages Power BI embedded, you can now use your business data to produce analytics and detailed process maps, gleaning new insights into ways to optimize your business processes. And that's all for this month. As always, we hope you enjoy the updates and please keep sending us feedback on what you'd like to see in upcoming releases. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next month.